The catalyst for my choosing to engage with this project was my experience in working with a local Syrian refugee support group. In this capacity, I have witnessed firsthand the challenges that arise when addressing this subject. Among them is the task of educating the general public on the specifics of the situation and the role of the UK in addressing the situation. I too have witnessed the impact of being subject to such hardships as being forced from one's home and driven into the path of certain danger. Many of the displaced persons that I have had the pleasure of meeting have shared with me the burdens of their journey, and many of them have been forever changed by their experiences. Maslow's hierarchy of needs lists safety as one of the 5 needs required in order to live a fulfilling life. And it was this notion of safety that had inspired my investigation into the provision of such an item. To feel safe, both physically and psychologically, underpins our ability to function as valuable members of society. For most of us, there exists a safe space in which we can feel safe. The most obvious being our home. In answering this brief, I had wanted to explore the provision of a safe space for use by displaced persons. Maslow's hierarchy of needs also lists self-actualization as a vital provision for the living of a fulfilling life. Through the creation of a series of modular units, I would endeavour to create an environment in which individuals could retreat to. Each unit would provide ambient noises and soothing visual elements and act as a form of holistic therapy, much like a hydrotherapy chamber. After conversations with my peers, I had decided to realign the narrative around the relationship between displaced persons and the tent as a visual representation of the events taking place. Therefore, I would seek to employ experimental fabrics that would allow me to realign and redefine what a tent represents in the conversation pertaining to mass migration. For example, can this object act as both a form of cognitive therapy and a commentary on the broader debate taking place on the subject of displaced persons? My process began with a series of sketchbook pages and the exploration of what a modular unit may look like. I began by exploring shapes and forms that would provide a comforting and protective shell around the inhabitant. I also reflected on the role of natural forms in the process of healing and recovery. For many refugees and asylum seekers, the question of a safe space is at the heart of their conversations, and therefore, to be able to provide a modular unit that provides them with space would go some way to providing a respite from the overcrowded circumstance and situations in which they find themselves. Continuing this theme of natural forms and the healing potential of the natural world, I had begun to experiment with the application of textures and layered canvas in the construction of the modular unit itself. In a continuation of this project, I would seek to further explore the role of lighting techniques and the use of digital projections in the provision of ambient noise and visual elements. I would also further explore the availability of canvas materials and how this may be applied in the delivery of a visually stimulating recovery environment. In the final visualization, I have illustrated a multi-layered dome-like tent that is constructed from translucent fabrics and able to accommodate the application of digital projections. I have also considered how we could use fabrics that respond to rainfall and changes in the levels of UV, thereby providing a visually transient experience within the environment in which they are erected. In the delivery of my product, I am also reflecting on the role of the object within local environments. I envision the construction of these modular units as being much like an interactive sculpture. Each unit will be able to accommodate the projecting of different colours, textures, and visual sequences. Such sequences would be used to further convey the narrative and personal experiences of the displaced persons, and through such objects and the interest they draw from the local community, I would seek to deliver a more informed message. I also view the delivery of such objects as being well suited to large-scale festivals, and therefore they could be presented as an interactive exhibition piece that present the story of the displaced persons through variations in coloured fabrics, textures, and digital projections. I would also see the presentation consist of multiple units, thereby presenting an eclectic array of colour, texture, and form in the delivery of this story. In closing, I would like to reflect on the subject that I have undertaken. I believe when engaging with such conversations and endeavouring to change the narrative, one must focus on the common shared values that exist within the displaced persons community and the general population. In choosing to provide something that is predominantly conceptual, I have chosen to engage my target audience in a manner that does not place emphasis on entrenched views or the disparity between those concerned. I believe that through providing a fun, colourful, and accessible experience in the form of this object, I am therefore able to offer a different perspective on a very tried and common subject.